Our minds are not built for that.
When you're curious about a topic, obviously the algorithm keeps throwing up a lot of stuff. So anybody and everybody's been making content on mental health and psychology.
Are you professionally qualified to talk about it? That's a question that you have to ask yourself.
पहला सेशन तो जजमेंट ही होता है from the client side, right? They are judging the therapist.
हाँ कि ये कितना बता पा रहे हैं मेरे बारे में.
Exactly.
It is said that therapists should also have therapists.
Of
Correct.
course, yes, it should be made compulsory.
A good therapist cannot work for more than 4 to 5 hours in a day. 70% of the market is relationship issue.
And there have been occasions when people have called me when they were suicidal.
Please understand, feeling uncomfortable is a part of being human.
Has that led to the loneliness epidemic? What is that one script that we should flip as a collective for a better life?
It's okay to not be okay.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Bluntly Yours. Today I have two very inspiring women in the studio, Saloni and Astha. They are the founders of Reboot Wellness, which is a mental health service that services multiple countries. And recently they've come out with a book called Flip the Story, which I'm very fascinated about. So say hi to Saloni and Astha.
Hello.
So I've been to Reboot Wellness a couple of times and it does not seem like a typical therapist's office. So I'd like you to tell me how it's different from other mental health clinics.
So, Reboot is not just a mental health service provider. That's what we do. But for both Saloni and I say that very confidently, that for us, it's a lot of passion, a lot of sensitivity and empathy towards mental health as a cause. We both are driven, and our team, our immediate and extended teams, are all driven towards making mental health available, accessible, and affordable for all. And we want to give that environment that allows people to be themselves when they come and seek help. Having worked in clinics and hospitals for the first half of my working life, I found it extremely unsettling to have therapeutic sessions in an environment which is so like, I mean, it's a hospital, right? Even the smell
Right.
is different.
Yes, yes.
So for Reboot, we wanted a little bit more vibrancy. We wanted a little bit more association, freedom. That's what we went for.
So like mental health is a cause really close to my heart, and like I've been talking about it for a very long time. If those who have been following me, they know that I've been very vocal about mental health issues. Uh, you observe the space much more closely than I do. Is there still a stigma around mental health, or is it changing?
It's changing. It's changed a lot. COVID sort of. Saloni always says that COVID did what we couldn't. Like it just fast forwarded 10 years. What we couldn't do, we couldn't have reached there before 10 years, and it just fast forwarded a lot of us. It broke a lot of stigmas. It broke a lot of barriers to understanding and receiving help for mental health.
Right. And what made that switch? What caused that switch?
I think the whole world became vulnerable.
Hmm.
The entire world was so vulnerable at that point of time that it highlighted our emotional, psychological vulnerabilities as well. We became confined, which was such a strange human experience,
Hmm.
and it was such a collective experience as well. So I think that made it extremely like everything was literally in your face, so you had to face it.
Isn't it also what you keep saying that every time there is like a calamity of sorts,
Yeah.
world war or, and you know
The
that is
history
when
of psychology, if you read the history of psychology, it has a lot of close association with significant world events.
Okay.
A huge advancement in psychological sciences came around during the first two world wars, especially during the second one, where so many Austrian, Jewish, German psychologists, psychiatrists, mental health professionals came around because the need, the whole world was, or a majority of the world was experiencing something, and with COVID, we saw that, and it just changed the game.
But does it take that extreme of a scenario for people to actually wake up and say, okay, I need help. I really need to talk to somebody. I need a professional.
I think it normalized it a little bit, right? People were still getting up and coming. It's not like the practices didn't run. People would still come, but it normalized the conversation for a lot of people who were sitting on the edge.
The edge.
Also, I think we have this conversation in office all the time that because we were also confined and Instagram and a lot of other things just took off, which is causing like an overstimulation
Right.
for everybody, right? And Asta often again says that our minds are not built for that. So all of that change, I think, is what is leading people now to at least accept that they need help.
But you're right, it takes that.
Takes that much. Well, another interesting thing that she said about social media. So when you're curious about a topic, obviously the algorithm keeps throwing up a lot of stuff. So anybody and everybody's been making content on mental health and psychology. I'm sure you also must have come across it. How credible is it? And are there any problem areas, red flags there?
Okay, I want to be as sensitive as I can be for this. I really appreciate the sentiment
Yeah.
and the thought behind why anybody would want to create content around mental health and emotional well-being and things like that. It's great.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. But are you in the position to talk about it? Are you professionally qualified to talk about it?
Yes.
That's a question that you have to ask yourself. You have the enthusiasm, you have the desire, which is great. Thumbs up for that. It's so valued and appreciated. Being kind, I think the society needs more kindness and compassion overall. But I don't think most of the Instagram stuff is as credible.
But that is for psychology,
For anything,
and so
everything.
now the government has started, doubling down on financial information.
Yeah.
In due course, they'll also double down on this, right?
They will have to. I mean, there was this article that I read a while back which said that the government is now becoming very vigilant of the mental health content that's coming out, and are you licensed,
Okay.
to say that? I mean, we all know about. I mean, we all know that ghee khana बहुत अच्छा होता है सेहत के लिए. Am I licensed to go and say it?
और
Yes, I
किसको
know
नहीं
it's
खाना
great.
चाहिए is more important.
Exactly, and who can eat it, who cannot eat it, how much to eat it, how much not to eat it. I don't know that.
That brings me to a very controversial question. So there are like multiple kinds of therapists out there in the market, right? There are life coaches who call themselves therapists. Then there are psychologists with like a bachelor's or a master's, and there are certificate course kind of therapists also. How does a person differentiate, and what is the difference in the kind of care they're equipped to provide?
Life coaches are not therapists. They're not psychologically qualified professionals. They don't have the professional degree to work with individuals' mental health or emotional well-being. They work on more sociable, more extrovert skills of an individual, which is great because I mean some life coaches, I have referred so many of my own clients to life coaches where confidence building and a lot of the other softer skills which you need to survive in the world, life skills need attention, and that's, I presume, that's where life coaches come in. I'm not saying that their work is very deep and is extremely beneficial, but if a person does not hold a degree in a minimum of a master's degree in psychology,
Right.
they cannot call themselves therapists or psychologists.
I feel there's a difference. I mean, we've interviewed a lot of life coaches and therapists over the years, right? And we've spoken to a lot. I feel like a lot of the therapists help you look backward and help you heal.
Right.
A lot of the life coaches help you look forward and help you hustle,
No, that's a good
right?
differentiate.
That's how I would look at choosing one for myself, right? I'm not going to go to a life coach for healing.
Right.
And I will not go to a therapist to look forward in my life and,
For
see how I'll
confidence
gallop
building
and
softer skills.
or even just like putting my like my life goals in place or whatever, right? So that is how one can sort of easily differentiate when they need a therapist. And then in therapy also there are grades of people that you obviously meet,
Right.
right? And I feel the most important thing is matching with the right therapist. So a lot of people match with the wrong therapist and then say therapy doesn't work.
I have realized that in my personal experience, both on either side of the table, I would say, uh, it's like a relationship like any other, right? Your compatibility, your value systems, your outlook in life has to match, because uh, otherwise there's a lot of judgment that comes in. There is a clash, and the expectations obviously don't meet.
पहला session तो judgment ही होता है from the client side, right? They are judging the therapist.
हाँ, कि ये कितना बता पा रहे हैं मेरे बारे में.
Exactly. And the therapist is never sitting there to give you advice, right?
But that's what a lot of therapists give, actually.
But here's what I want to highlight at this point. Continuing from what Saloni said, there are so many grades and levels of mental health professionals. Therapists are one of those mental health professionals.
हाँ.
There are clinical psychologists, there are counseling psychologists, there are therapists. Therapists are individuals who hold a master's degree, in at least a master's degree in psychology, but also have studied and gained some credibility in a certain kind of therapeutic practice, right? So that's one. Counseling psychologists are people who work with basic life to life, daily life, basic issues. And of course, clinical psychologists are the ones who work with slightly more clinical, more more profound mental health concerns.
Right.
Who work primarily with psychiatrists as well. And the responsibility to to have a good rapport lies on both the therapist and the client. The therapist, it is the counselor or the therapist or the clinical psychologist's responsibility to acknowledge where they can help and where they can't help. That's their responsibility. Right.
Also, I think like you come from a family where your parents are doctors, right? So I'll just take that as an example. Like there is a general physician who's also a doctor, right? And then from the general physician you go to a cardiologist, who's also a doctor. And then from the cardiologist you go to a super speciality, speciality in cardiology itself, right? Who will also be, but they're all trained in medicine with specialization. The same way in therapy, people are trained in specialization, and that is why at Reboot, Astha has built a beautiful team where there are professionals who have different area of expertise, right? So Astha will do a fabulous job, as a counselor. There'll be someone else who does assessments, for which you need a very different training and capability. There is someone else who is very good with children. There is someone who's very good with geriatrics. There is someone who's very good with young adults, right? So one of the things that our practice, focuses on is that when somebody calls us or when you go to our website also, it is about matching you to the right person.
Right.
For example, in addiction, therapy and peer coach might be a better combination, but for someone else, psychiatry and therapy might be a better combination. So finding that match that works for you as an individual is where we work.
Is it like a dating app?
It
It is.
Unfortunately, we don't
exactly.
have things to swipe.
Yeah.
You're assigned a therapist.
But so we've tried to do an equivalent of that. We have therapists talk about themselves and their practice a little bit on the website, so that whoever is reading it can make an informed choice, at least at that level. You may not get along with a therapist, which is the same as dating, but at least the initial swipe is in the right direction, right? So that is important. It is a bit of a hit and trial as well, because it's like what you were saying earlier, that the energy of two people has to match. It is a very, very deep, personal,
Very personal. You're the most
very
vulnerable
emotional.
there.
Absolutely, it's a very emotional relationship, and when we get our training, we're told that we have the responsibility of holding that, holding the sanctity of that relationship, which is, I mean, of course, it is on the client as well, but a lot on the therapist, because we are in so-called position of power
Right.
and influence and impact. So these are factors that have to, that have to be addressed, looked into, and sure, you'll meet a therapist who you may not align with, and you may realize that after 2-3 settings, you may feel judged by them, or you may feel that their approach to you or to your concern is not how you want to be helped, and that's fine as well. It's okay.
There is a very sticky side to this as well, that of transference. So when you're that emotionally close to a patient and they're like pouring out their most vulnerable secrets to you,
Yeah.
it is difficult to stay detached up to I mean, not attached, I would say. Like you do tend to get a little kind of entangled, enmeshed with them, and invested in them.
At some level, yes, but again, that's where training, and that's where a lot of our work at Reboot Wellness is to ensure that being a therapist and having been a therapist for the last 16 odd years, I have realized with each moment, with each client, every single day, that it is such a valuable yet a vulnerable practice which can have a significant impact on people.
Right.
So if you are not, so this, the idea of being entangled with your client requires a lot of training, understanding, maturity. Literally, I'm using that word maturity. You have to be a mature person to be able to deal with someone who's coming with so much emotional, so many emotions.
And
if
be
you-
objective about
yeah,
it.
and if
also.
you are not, if you start crying, or if you get emotionally attached to the person, your, the empathy is gone. Your bias, you would, over a period of time, you start to it starts to impact the way you communicate with them. So this is where, we have been working extensively for the last 5-6 years on building a tribe of therapists, because this is also therapist is also a human being, right? We will get affected. It's not that we
Right.
won't get
Yes.
affected. We might feel like, I personally don't work with geriatrics because I get emotionally affected. So I know that I will not be able to give my best objective self to them. So I don't work. That's a decision that I made, very early on in my career. But this is the training and support and understanding that therapists also need, and that's where we have been working extensively to provide that space for.
It is said that therapists should also have therapists.
Of
Correct.
course, yes, it should be made compulsory.
So that is called a supervision session, where you come in with your case to your therapist and you talk about, whatever is bothering you. How do you draw your boundaries? How do you learn? How do you move forward?
Right. Like Astha is from the psychology background. She has extensive years of clinical practice behind her. What got you into this space?
What got you into this space?
Yeah, high five on that. It's lived experiences. But do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Sure. Interestingly, I went into therapy in 2012. And I didn't meet my therapist for 3 years. We just worked on the phone. We were in different cities, and I used to travel a lot. And she explained on the first 2 sessions, she said, look, consistency is more important. So we will work offline because it is like your fitness regime, right? You stop working out, you'll slack. So you need this right now, and you need consistency. So between all our travels, her travel and my travel, we didn't miss a single session, and we worked together for 2.5, 3 years. I think for me, Astha puts it much more beautifully and elegantly, that a therapist basically gives you a raincoat so that you can go and enjoy the rain. For me, it was exactly that. I think I needed to learn new life skills. I was, doing very well in life, but I'd reached a rock bottom due to certain behavior patterns, decisions, life events, whatever you want to call it, right? And then to pick myself up from there and start again was a task. And it was just new life skills.
So did that kind of show you what a therapist can do for you?
Of course, the magic that they can create. I was really, really grateful for that. But I realized that it was really hard to find a good therapist as a client. And when I spoke to the therapist, I found that they were so overwhelmed with the skill and the work because it is very intensive.
It is.
A good therapist cannot work for more than 4 to 5 hours in a day.
I figured.
Yeah. Clearly,
Like
right?
you can't speak to more than 2 people in a
You
day.
can't.
It just drains you out.
Correct. But you have so many ancillary things that have to be done.
Right.
right? There is so much support that a therapist needs, which is non-therapy. Appointment booking, scheduling, marketing, system
Social
building,
media.
social media, content creation, you name it, right? So I said, can we build like a little bit of a, environment where we could provide that kind of support? And yeah, that's where we are. Plus, I think, what we started the conversation with, you said you've come to Reboot and you found that it was a little different.
Huh.
I feel like therapy is one little part of healing, right? The person in that moment needs so much more.
Right.
They need so much love. They need support. For example, we had a client. He hadn't worked for 10 years. He was 40 when he came, maybe 40 or something, right? And it was important for us to provide a lot more support for him to build his confidence. He eventually got a job. He's doing really well in life. But all that support was not just in the therapy room.
True.
A lot of it was outside the therapy room, where you could sit, build your CV, ask somebody
Acha,
for
like
help. Logistics.
support,
I don't know where I should go, right? Like, just last week, somebody reached out and she said she's a young, her kids are now in school and whatever, she wants to get back to work. And she's like, I don't know where to start. So come, hang out with us, sit with us, right? And slowly you'll find your way.
Come hang out there
Yeah,
as well. You do feel stuck in life sometimes. Like, what next? Like, where is this heading? What am I supposed to do next? So, yeah. But also a lot of people say that why should I go to a therapist? I can just talk to my best friend.
Yeah.
Sure, you can, and you should. You absolutely should. Therapy is not a replacement for our intimate relationships. Not at all. Not the other way around as well.
I think there is a beautiful thing again. I think the mental health spectrum that you talk about, right? On the spectrum, at some point, therapy, shopping, ice cream, all of that helps. And
I mean, see, therapy for me has 4 major goals. One is catharsis. You come and talk without the fear of judgment. You're just expressing yourself, you're sharing what you're feeling. So that's one. 2 is building perspective. The biggest job that a therapist has, which is something that we've tried to work through our book as well, is to build perspective, to look at things in a different way that allows our mind to, detangle that stuck situation and start thinking of it in a more organized, more systematic, other, like looking at life from a bigger perspective. Yeah. Third is building awareness about your own self. Knowing your own self is such an important part of the therapeutic journey, because you discover parts of you which you probably were ignorant of or not really, focused on. And most importantly, which is again a very neglected part of therapy, unfortunately, is building skills. We're all born, we're not born with, we're not that skillful that we know how to navigate every situation in our life. So over a period of time, building skills to learn how to navigate certain situations in our life is an important part of a therapeutic conversation. But it in no way replaces a friend. Friends, family, social engagements are equally and more important than a therapeutic relationship. Therapeutic relationship will, it's shorter term, it's focused, it's not, and this is something that, in Indian context, it becomes a little difficult because people start to feel very, like, I've got invites from my clients' weddings and birthday parties and things like that, which is, of course, one is not supposed to engage in that at all. But it does become, it is, we have to draw those boundaries and lines, and it's not friendship. It's a very deep, intimate, professional relationship, which has a lot of give and take, has a lot of open space to be yourself. But
what kind of problems are people grappling with these days? Like, when you get people in the, clients in your clinic?
70% of the market is relationship issues.
I thought so.
Going back to your first podcast.
Oh, my first podcast. Yeah, that's what it was about.
yeah, relationship issues. Yes, we
Yeah,
did.
we loved it.
We did.
Loved it, yeah.
What do you think about it from a...
Well, we're two single girls. So we have a lot to say, dating in our
do.
40s.
Please, we can digress for a bit.
Yeah.
So I think the podcast was lovely. I know that there was an entire element on the LGBTQ community and all of that. But I'll tell you something. And this is something that I was thinking while I was listening to your podcast. And I told you where I listened to it. So a lot of space to think. I think all of us as human beings, irrespective of our gender or sexual identity, we're all human beings who are vulnerable. We're all flesh and blood.
Yeah.
And dealing with relationships, emotions, is the biggest challenge that most of us will have to face ever. And that's irrespective of where we are on the spectrum or not on the spectrum. Whoever we are, as long as we are human, वो problem आएगी. And it is important to know that one has to deal with it. We can't run away from it. It is becoming more and more complex thanks to the overstimulated exposure that we...
Like, why is that happening? Because, like, the previous generations, they kind of craved stability. They had more stability in the relationships. They might have had other problems as well. But the whole emotional intelligence or the emotional resilience, I would say, is kind of missing in this scenario. You would have experienced that.
I feel like the earlier generation just took a very long-term view on things.
हाँ, कि करना है तो करना है.
Long-term है मतलब, right? तो
In it forever.
and वो long-term में ना बहुत चीजें solve होती रहती हैं. There are road blocks and bumps, but it's not the end of the road. It's not a dead end. You know, you find the way, like water finds its way. But I think for me, just on a lighter note, on, you know, the dating in your 40s, I think you don't want to be... I feel like a lot of people that you meet now, especially men, I'm finding that mentally stable, physically stable, mentally fit, physically fit, and financially stable. ये 3 combination ही नहीं मिलते. मतलब ये तो इतना base requirement है ना.
वो नहीं मिलता.
वो नहीं मिलता. And then you sort of look at yourself and you're like, boss, I don't want to be a nurse or a purse. So then what do? You remain single.
That's
and like
a
you
line.
said, yeah,
You don't want to be a nurse. or
you
a
don't want to be a
purse.
nurse or a purse. So you remain single. And like you said, you've ticked off all your stuff, right?
हाँ, कोई ऐसा deadline नहीं है.
There's
Abhi
no
just sitting
deadline,
and
so now you're
chilling.
chilling.
हाँ.
So, yeah, I mean,
But
that's just
I
my
think
take
something
on
that you also picked up in your previous podcast was about connection and the need for it. While we celebrate independence, interdependence is how human race survived.
I mean, you
For
can't deny
centuries
that.
we have survived because we have been interdependent. We're not designed to be aloof. We're not. Our brain, there are parts of our brain that get impacted if we are aloof and alone. And if certain emotions and feelings are not replicated or responded to or experienced by a human being, it can be done in any way. That is person to person. But having deep emotional connect is a part of being a human. That's how we survive.
But
And-
can you have like these deep emotional connects
You know,
just with
everybody
a lot of other...
You
like,
can't. So that's the problem, right? Like we're trying to have it with a lot of people, whether we manifest it in a sexual relationship or a dating relationship. It is, and that's becoming a problem. The other thing that I also see as a problem is this need for everybody to get over everything very quickly. I mean, there is one particular movie actress, I'm not going to name that actress, who said it on a show with Coffee with Karan that, and she's also in her 40s and now
नाम
married.
ले लो, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. और क्या? Coffee with Karan थोड़ी ना है ये.
Priyanka Chopra said that I can get over. So Karan Johar asked her, what is it that you can, that something on the lines of, how are you like a Gen Z person? And she said, I can get over and I can move on from something like this. I think that's such a disturbing line. If you're moving on from emotional experiences like this, you're collecting garbage in your own mind. You are collecting trauma.
But
And
what
you-
is letting go? Chuck it in the fuck it bucket and move on. What is letting go? It is letting go.
No, it's not.
But
it
either
doesn't-
you're not feeling it or you're not processing it.
You're not processing it. I'm not saying that everybody has to sit and cry over a breakup for like 10 days. but acknowledging what you're feeling without the pressure of, no, I have to get over this. Because most people who come to us in therapy rooms are always like, okay, I can't feel like this anymore. I said, what is it that you're feeling? I mean, you're feeling uncomfortable. It's cold outside. We're feeling cold. Now, what do we do?
Like I should not feel cold.
I can't, how can I not feel cold? I can wear a jacket and keep myself warm. Sure, I can do that. But the cold is there and I have to deal with it. That's the other problem that I see. Like, along with relationship issues, the other problem that I see is the whole anxiety thing and panic attack, and everybody is having triggers and getting trauma and experiencing a lot. And I value every emotion that a person goes through, but please understand, feeling uncomfortable is a part of being human. We were born out of discomfort, right? Like, the first thing we do is we cry, you know. So and that's how the brain also develops. And resilience is, I'm not saying that life has to be a struggle for everybody, but life will have struggles, and that struggle is going to make me feel uncomfortable, and that's okay. It's okay to not be okay.
Yeah, that's the favorite
The hashtag that was circulating. Oh, COVID. Yeah.
But has that led to the loneliness epidemic? You see a lot of people who are just down in the dumps because they're lonely.
And they don't realize it. They don't realize that it's coming from loneliness. Because they do have people around them. Lonely doesn't mean that you're alone. You have people around you. And of course, we also have this very exciting narrative about self-love, which does not mean I, me, myself.
हाँ हाँ यार प्लीज वो बता दो सबको सेल्फ लव क्या होता है. Another topic.
Yes, hopefully soon. But self-love is not me, myself, and I.
But on the topic of loneliness, in our book, the loneliness chapter was the most loved. When we sent our book to a few people to read and review, everybody came back and just loved and identified so much with the loneliness and the flip of the loneliness, which is vulnerability.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, coming to the book, so for whatever I have read through it, it beautifully captures every human emotion, not from a very gyan perspective. It's got a lot of soul in it, as well as the scientific perspective of, you know, how you can rewrite your story and turn obstacles into your own power. How did this come about? Like you caught. She's
It was
a
her.
superwoman, this woman.
The book was so we had a client and she's given us permission to share this, so I can. She's a friend of mine, and she had come into therapy, and then we were sitting, and it's there in the book, you know, it's in the intro. So we were sitting together every Friday. We would sit together. So I asked her after 3 months of therapy. I said, "How was it? What happened?" And she said, "I came in as an angry person. And then my therapist taught me that I should be curious." So she just flipped the whole conversation on anger in my head. And then she's a good friend of mine, so we, you know, kept talking
What
about
does curious mean?
Why am I angry? Why did he do what he did? Why did she behave the way she did? Why did I say what I said? Why could I not hold myself for 2 more minutes before, you know, exploding? When do I feel most angry? When do I feel most triggered? Right? And there are just so many questions that you could ask about anger. And she says, now when I feel that emotion, when I feel that trigger, I have learned in therapy to just sit back just for 1 more minute and ask myself 1 more question. And that sort of just got me very, you know, excited or triggered, very excited, honestly, about how do you flip the story. And then I went back to, you know, how I had used this tool of flipping the story for my own self. So I came back one day very excited, you know, in the morning to Astha, and I said, here, I made the cover. I said, ye likh raha hai. She looked at me.
अच्छा, cover पहले बना लिया.
Cover पहले बना लिया. She said, अच्छा, chila kya, sounds good, लिखते हैं. Then we started working on it, and then there were some emotions where नहीं हो रहा था, right?
That's what
नहीं हो रहा था.
That was my next question. That can the script be flipped for every emotion?
Not in the moment, always. It takes time. It takes a lot of mindfulness. It takes effort. and it also takes experiencing an emotion. It starts with experiencing that emotion. One of the biggest reasons why we struggle with emotions or being emotionally resilient is because we try to push away that emotion. I don't
Yeah.
want to feel this. I don't want to feel sad. I don't want to feel lonely. I don't want to feel hurt. I don't want to feel like I have low self. And we get into our brain is wired like that, right? The brain says, okay, ये अच्छा नहीं लग रहा, ये uncomfortable है. Let me
feel ही
try
मत
and
करो.
let me try and do something. Either I will feel it too much,
हाँ.
I'll get too attached to it,
Yeah.
or I will try to push it under the
हाँ.
carpet. Both are unhealthy for me.
हाँ.
The idea is to accept it. That's where it begins. So it may not be possible in that moment all the time, and that's also fine. But over a period of time, how we look at ourselves, how we look at what is happening to us, and how we are thinking and feeling about it, that change eventually, that flip, is what helps.
Why are people becoming so scared of feeling natural human emotions, like the most normal human emotions, like anger, grief, sadness, heartbreak? You're just so scared to feel it.
2 points to this, and very raw. The first thing that I want to blame, and I say blame, which Sononi may not like, is the technological advancement.
How so?
It has made us believe that everything is very quick
Ah.
and it needs to be fixed also quickly. Okay, so when we were kids, 80s and 90s, we're all 80s kids,
Ah.
grew up in our 80s and 90s, we wanted to have a pizza. क्या होता था?
शहर में ही नहीं होता था.
पहली बात तो आधी जगह पे तो होता नहीं था. अगर दिल्ली में if you are lucky to be in a place where you would go to your drawer or cabinet wherever you would keep your pamphlets,
हाँ.
right? वहाँ से हम pamphlet निकालते थे, फिर डिस्कशन होती थी कि क्या ऑर्डर करना है. ठीक है, वो फोन उठा के ऑर्डर करा जाता था या ऑर्डर प्लेस किया जाता था, उसको जाके पिक किया जाता था.
हाँ.
Gratification had a purpose. Today, gratification has become so immediate that it has made our brain almost unable to experience and hold patience, feelings. Because किसी भी negative emotion को experience करने के लिए we need patience. वो तो है ही नहीं, वो तो हमको भूल ही गए क्योंकि हमको तो अभी सब क्लिक की आदत हो गई है.
It will pass through no matter what. आज नहीं तो कल नहीं तो परसों. It will pass.
There's this little short clip, no, where Tom Hanks says, "This too shall pass."
हाँ. But it will pass through you.
It'll
Yeah.
pass
It has
through.
to
There is no
pass
other
through.
way.
There is
It
no
has to
other way,
pass through.
and that requires you to be okay.
Yeah.
So one is that there is such immediate gratification that people have gotten used to, that this also need this discomfort. Oh, ये discomfort. अब अभी AC on कर दो. You know, earlier I remember we used to have power cuts for hours in summer. We dealt with it, na? We dealt with it.
आज तो हम लोग ही पागल हो जाए अगर 5
मतलब
मिनट से
if there
ज़्यादा
is a
the
power-
backup doesn't turn on.
Exactly. There is that patience, that resilience, or that capacity to bear discomfort has gone down, all thanks to the technological advancement. The other thing that it has also happened is our brains are overstimulated, and I always say this.
Yeah.
I mean, you go and stand on the road today, right now. Even if we look around ourselves in this moment, look at the amount of gadgets that are there around us
the
constantly.
time, yeah.
Our brain is, while we are actively processing this, but our brain is also processing everything else around,
Right.
and it's hyperstimulated. It's already exhausted. So वो थोड़ा सा भी उसमें और that exhaustion comes in. It
And you can't look
gets-
outside our screens for too long also.
I mean,
There's that impatience
But
to
that
go
is
back
why I
and
think
check.
a lot of people are now embracing the slow life, right? Like they're
We have to.
The slow
actively.
life. I'm a huge fan of the slow life. I'm waiting for it to hit me.
it's
But
an
we have
effort.
FOMO as well.
Yeah.
Slow life
मेरा
करो तो
FOMO
फिर.
खत्म हो रहा है. It's like fuck
तो वही
it.
वो it's your journey ना. You have to go
हाँ.
through that,
Yeah.
and you have to get over and say कि नहीं बस अभी
हो गया.
But emotions,
हो गया है.
the inability to deal with heavy emotions.
Hmm.
Two things are, this is something that I genuinely feel that this is how people, because when we work with people to enable them to deal with difficult emotions, it starts with calming them down. It starts with, the process begins with a lot of acceptance of कि हाँ कुछ, like sometimes this has happened and it's okay, it's going to make me feel like this, so I need to be calm enough to deal with it.
Asta the parent in office will often say कुछ हो रहा होगा ना. हाँ तो फिर क्या होगा? अच्छा, फिर क्या होगा? फिर क्या होगा? Right? And the third फिर क्या होगा?
हाँ.
You're like
तो
ठीक है
worst case
मतलब,
scenario
कोई बात नहीं हो
ठीक है,
जाएगा जो
हो
भी है
जाए.
ठीक हो जाएगा.
हाँ. That's a good exercise to do thrice a day. So I tend to attract a lot of people in distress, And there have been occasions when people have called me when they were suicidal, like in the moment suicidal. So I was able to talk them out of it, but it I felt I would be able to help people better if I'm professionally qualified for it, because God forbid you make one mistake and something goes wrong, you can't live with that. So it was mostly because of that I took this up. It was a subject that I was very passionate about, like you guys, and I had some counseling experience behind me. But I thought it made more sense to have a solid training and a solid education to back it up. I didn't want to talk in the air.
That's amazing, and that takes a lot of self knowledge, self appreciation, and I mean honestly, like I said earlier, as a profession, I appreciate that because there's so much out there which is unwarranted and not scientific at all.
You know, when somebody trusts you with their or any kind of health problem, especially mental health, they are putting their most vulnerable side in front of you, and literally, like, there is so much responsibility on your shoulder. You don't want to talk out of thin air. You don't want to make assumptions. You don't want to think कि नहीं मुझे सब आता है, मैं इसको ज्ञान दे दूंगी, मैं समझा दूंगी, because it's much more than that. There's a lot of facets to it. You know it much better than I do. uh, Sometimes it's circumstantial, sometimes it's because of a health condition or hormones or the phase of life a person is in, genetics or whatever. So you need, I mean, I just wanted to be equipped adequately to do it.
Hats off to
Hats
that,
off to you, and
yeah.
from a
Guys, I need
professional,
validation all the time.
from a professional, believe me, our community, we respect you for.
And I think
Doing
I'll come
this
to your
in the-
tribe to kind of
Please do.
train more.
Please do. Our tribe is for anyone who wants to be in this space.
And I think therapists who have fabulous, like lived experiences of different kinds, they make really good therapists themselves. I'm saying lived, like Asta, I say, is one of the best therapists I know because she reads a lot, she's traveled a lot, she's, experienced a lot, she's lived a lot, right? Because I mean, most people today who come to our practice, for example, they're all well traveled, well read, right? To be able to connect and identify, and like you said, there are so many facets. So that,
And people are aware also. It's not like they're coming totally blank about things, especially educated people. They'll read up a lot, they'll consume content, and they probably know already what's
But
wrong.
you know
with
what you said earlier, Shuchi, that people get attracted to you, distressed people get attracted to you. Because I feel that being and I mean, in 21 years, about 21 years since I started studying and, came into this field, one thing I realize is, and I know people will hate me for saying this, I think some people are just born to be therapists. Why? Because therapist is, empathy, hum bolte hain, empathy honi chahiye, you should have unconditional positive regard and you should be non-judgmental. Great, most people are like that. But the tolerance of actually going deep into the person's mind is, it's such a, you go into, you as it, like to me as a therapist, for me it's a process where I forget who I am. It's not about me anymore. It's about the person sitting in front of me and me using my faculty, my knowledge, my understanding, my skills to be, to understand that person without keeping in mind who I am. So my judgment in that moment doesn't matter. And that is such a deep process. So either you're able to do it or you're not. I've had students, because I very actively teach, I've had students who I've had discussions with, and they're like, ma'am, you think that we can be therapists? And there have been times when I've said no. I mean, they're my students, they're not my clients who have to be completely, this thing. They're coming to me for advice, and I've told a few of them that, you need to question and ask yourself, do you have the mental and the emotional bandwidth to actually leave yourself and
bandwidth चाहिए.
yeah, not everybody has the gift to be able to heal, no?
I know, maybe it's a calling or something.
Yeah.
It is.
It
and
is.
that's the thing,
Not
it's
everyone
innate.
is given
It's
that
so
gift.
innate. Which brings me to another question that I was thinking about, like 6 books. Wow, like
Thank you.
What got you to write so much?
I just like, that's all I know how to, I mean, that's all I know. Writing is all I know. Like my profession, my corporate job also involves a lot of writing and communications. and my passion is also books.
And
so
very interesting topics.
Just storytelling. This is also storytelling for me. Your stories. So that's all I do. So how do you think things are changing?
I think post COVID, the stigma is definitely breaking. And I was pleasantly surprised that the government actually in the budget announced a budget for mental health a few years ago. NIMHANS has set up these telemedicine centers, telehealth centers for mental health, so many of them, which is fabulous. So the initiatives, like that, they then take the message to the common person. It just gives it's no longer an elite sort of, service of sorts. It acknowledges that the world needs it, the country needs it, and everyone's, doing their bit. So I think the stigma is definitely breaking because of all of those things as well.
One last question about your book. What is that one script that we should flip as a collective for a better life? More fulfilling life.
For me, it's simple. It's okay to not be okay. We have to accept the struggles that come with life, and it's okay if they come. They're difficult, but not impossible to deal with.
Just be okay with the problems.
To be okay with the fact that there is a problem.
What about you, Saloni?
I think it is switching FOMO to JOMO. So from the fear of missing out, we should just have the joy of missing out. छोड़ दो, नहीं हो रहा, नहीं कर सकते, उसने कर लिया, उसका हो गया, कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता. तुम्हें उतना ही मिलेगा जितना तुम्हें मिलेगा.
I think I'm getting into that zone now. Like, छोड़ दो यार, नहीं हो रहा है तो why kill yourself over things? And suddenly एक दिमाग में बहुत interesting question आया, which might extend into a very long conversation. The intersectional space between spirituality and psychology.
Such a relevant question.
Should we talk about it today or some other time?
I think it's a full episode that
Full
needs.
episode, right?
I think one episode will also be short. It's such a beautiful space to explore because it needs a lot of conversation, and again destigmatization because it comes from a, there's a lot of overlapping of religion and all of that. But I mean, looking at spirituality, I personally have started reading a lot on Indian psychotherapy over the last couple of years, and it has opened my mind to experiences that make so much sense.
I know.
It makes so much sense. In our daily practices, the traditions that we otherwise ran away from, where parents asked us to do certain things, I just realized the significance and importance of so many things.
Of the
And the
rituals
science
also.
of rituals, the science behind everything. There's a lot of knowledge that needs exploration, and psychology, though psychology is a more modern science, modern field in science, but I think it borrows significantly from spirituality and philosophy and just being human.
I think we'll talk about that some other day. It's going to be a very long conversation. I bet you're also waiting for it. So until then, stay blunt, stay brutal, stay fabulous. Bye bye.